And that's our show. Oh, no,
No,
no.
no,
Oh,
no,
sorry,
no.
sorry, sorry, sorry. Oh, something great is later. Whoops.
Oh, Gavin.
Shit, sorry. And this is Gatriarchs. So for the last week, I have been a single dad. And
Ooh, what happened? Did you get
it
divorced?
is
Oh
my
God.
partner's away on work, and
Oh,
he got
okay.
to escape. He got to fly the coop, and I have to say, it's these times that you are reminded that there are all different ways of being a parent, and what's most comfortable to you is probably what you're in, and I. These times though that I just so admire single parents, and I say hats off. It's amazing what you do. And I am fortunate that I have my family unit together, and I would rather not be single. But at the same time, like the yesterday, my daughter said to me, "Are you so excited to sleep alone in your bed?" And I'm like, "Well, I really miss Tati a lot, but hell's yeah, I'm excited about sleeping in my bed alone."
Hello. Yes, I'm gonna sleep like a starfish, and
Yep, absolutely. Or at least I have the option of sleeping like a starfish, although I feel like I have still been relegated to the 6 inches of my bed that I actually sleep on. But, but also things are just kind of easier because I'm the boss and there's no
mm-hmm.
miscommunication and there's no unspoken assumptions. And also, there are fewer towels and underwear left on the floor that I leave passive aggressively to say, hey, I'm not going to pick up after you. And it's kind of easier, frankly.
But you know what? It's also a good test because when you get to do it by yourself, you get to kind of prove to yourself if the things that you wish you were doing normally are better or are worse. Because some of them, like you're saying, you're like, you know what? It's easier if we just do it Dad's way. And then sometimes you're like,
Yep.
oh yeah, no, we definitely we were definitely doing it the wrong way.
Oh, there's been a lot of it. It's everything would just be easier if the world, if my family and the world would work the way I want it to, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So I have a very close friend who was over the other day, and they were talking about the egg donor for. So both my kids have the same egg donor, different. One of them is my DNA, and one of them is my husband's DNA. So they're both genetically related by the egg donor. And we were talking about that because they're starting to look alike right now. And he was saying, "Oh, well, do they have the same mom?" And you could see his brain kind of go like short circuit a little bit. And I
Yeah,
said, "Yeah, they have the same egg donor." And he was immediately like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." And I was like, you didn't offend me."
yeah,
And it reminded me that the words we use in gay parenting, but also like just surrogacy and IVF and all these things are complicated, or people who don't know a lot about them can feel like they trip up on things. And I always
yeah,
tell people, I'm like, you're allowed to say the wrong thing. You're allowed to ask me questions about what things are. Like, that's not offensive to me. So I
yeah,
thought maybe we spent just a couple minutes really quick going through, I feel like, the most common terms that are heard in surrogacy and gay dating, just to get them out there. And anybody
let's
who's
do it.
listening who, yeah. So the first one is surrogate. So I think a lot of people
Hmm.
know what generally that means is somebody carrying a child that's maybe not theirs. So in general, there's two kinds of surrogates. There's a gestational surrogate and a traditional surrogate. Now, a traditional surrogate is somebody who gets pregnant themselves with their own egg, and they give birth, and then that baby is somebody else's, right?
Correct.
And then there's what's called a gestational surrogate, which is, I think, more common in the gay community, which is where an embryo is created in a lab. It's outside the body. They have an egg donor, they have the sperm donor, it's usually one of the dads. They create an embryo in the lab, and then that embryo is then transferred into a gestational surrogate. So, like, the terrible way of saying that is like the gestational surrogate is the oven, but is not the
Yep.
bun. They're not related to the bun at all.
Yeah, we did that, and I always try to explain to people there were 3 parties in making the kids, and we've said to the kids also, there were 3 parts, and that no, Cheryl, our phenomenal gestational surrogate, is not the mom, and they know that there was an egg donor, and then
Mm-hmm.
daddy and Tati. We also did the same thing that you did,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the third party that where the kids cooked, and
Yeah.
yeah, 3 parties.
And something, total side note, something I learned during our second surrogacy. We had two different surrogates. Our first surrogate was my incredible sister-in-law, and then our second surrogate was somebody we had met in one of the matching groups. And one of the things I had learned, I had always assumed, well, you're not genetically related to the child. So the kind of idea of like you having an influence on them is kind of removed in a way.
Yeah.
And then I did some research on our second surrogacy because there was a thing that came up, and it was really interesting. It was saying that there is influence in the gestational surrogate to the embryo because, you have all these genetic like on and off switches in your DNA, right? And science doesn't exactly know why certain things are switched on and off and a variety of reasons. And they were saying the gestational surrogate can have an influence on which things are turned on and turned off. So in a way, there is this beautiful kind of influence that your surrogate has on your child, even though it's not a DNA or kind of biological influence. There's this like kind of mystery, magical vibe, and I just thought our second surrogate was very much in that kind of like beautiful artistic headspace, and it was a kind of a cool thing to know. It's like, oh, there is a kind of connection there.
Yeah, how could there not be a connection? And I would imagine that there's absolutely there's an exchange of fluids and there's an exchange of endorphins and feelings. And there's no doubt that, the human body and pregnancy is absolutely a miracle. If you want to get religious about it, you can. It's just it's an unbelievable thing that any of us are actually here.
But there's definitely a lot that I purposely excluded the relationship part of it, right? The experience you have with your gestational surrogate is an incredible, full of love. There's a lot. It's a beautiful thing. I was just talking about the biological components are. I was surprised there is an influence. Anyway,
yes.
So you'll hear gestational surrogate or surrogate used a lot, or sometimes GS. I say that a lot. So that's what that means. So the next one I want to say is egg donor, just because my friend tripped up on this. So it gets a little weird because when you think about who's the mom, this is why the terms get very strange. But I feel like a lot of us in the gay parenting world, it's the egg donor. So the egg donor, the egg donor had blonde hair, you have blonde hair. It's not the mom, right? There is no mom, right? But also, I get why you're thinking that, right? Because the mom usually has the egg that gives the birth, and it's just not that way. So we often say you guys have the same egg donor. And she had, kind of dark red hair and whatever. And then IVF, which is not, I think most people know, but just a reminder, is in vitro fertilization. It is a scientific process of kind of manipulating sperm and eggs and putting them together in a lab. And an embryologist creates these embryos, and then they're transferred into the surrogate. So that whole process is the umbrella of that is IVF, which I feel like a lot of...
Thank you.
A lot of people know pretty well. And I just said embryologist. So, the embryologist is the one who is sorting the sperm and the eggs and grading the eggs and then creating these embryos, which are not babies. We won't get into that. But these embryos in the lab and then grading the embryos themselves. So embryos have a lot of different kind of rating systems and stuff. But the embryo and the embryologist, that's that kind of part of the process. And then transfer. This is the one I always trip up. So transfer is when you take the embryo from the lab and you put it in the gestational surrogate. You transfer it. But it gets a little weird because we all know what I'm saying. And so it's is that when you put in when they get we call it transfer. It's a much nicer word to say.
That's when you get knocked up. Yes.
That's when you get knocked up. And I've gotten transferred a couple times in college and it was great. But that is the process of bringing the embryo into the surrogate. But it is exactly what we're saying, right? It's a thing. It takes 3 seconds. I have this amazing photo. I hope she allows me to say this on the podcast. You're not allowed to take photos, videos, or anything when you're kind of in the space. Because we were remote when we had our first transfer. And my amazing sister-in-law, Erin, was like, I'm going to take some sneaky photos. And there's a photo from her point of view, her legs splayed up in the air and a doctor just head first down in there. And she just wanted to take a picture of the moment of transfer. And it's fantastic. It's
and
one of
she
my
did
favorite photos ever. Oh, she did it. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
It's one of my favorite photos ever because it's just there's no nudity, but it is we know what's happening here. And there's a weird magical component of this is when you got pregnant.
Can I divert with the transfer? I have a transfer story in our surrogacy process. It was remote also. And the day that the transfer was supposed to take place, our embryologist calls me and he says, so we had a little bit of a hiccup. And I'm like,
Uh-oh.
Not what I want to hear on transfer day.
No.
And he goes, so your surrogate carrier was ready. I assume like, you know, not exactly legs in air, but was ready. And the egg donor was there. I assume the way I imagine it is they were in two different rooms, practically adjoining. So we were doing a fresh transfer. Embryologist calls me. We have a bit of a hiccup. Everything's ready to go, but we can't find your sperm. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
You're like, have you checked the bathroom stalls at Port Authority? Because you can find it all there.
There could be jizz scraped off of so many different places in New York City, frankly, or across the country or across the world. And you're telling me that when I jerked off into a Dixie cup at your facility, like, are you telling me that the nurse walked in to the lab, looked in the freezer, and was like, "Hey, anybody seen Gavin Lodge's sperm?" It was gone.
Why does this icing taste so funny? And where is Gavin's sperm?
And so that was a little hiccup in our process, and we had to do another cycle and jerk off into a Dixie cup yet again.
We're gonna have to do. We'll do an episode on just the embryo creation process from our point of view, because it is a kind of weird, wild. We'll do a surrogacy journey kind of episode in the future. But the last three the terms I just want to go through really quickly, and these are all very kind of basic ones, but I just want to make sure, because I think I don't want people to ever feel like they can't ask questions or they're afraid to talk about things because they don't know the terms. So the other thing is kind of in the more adoptive world. So there's biological parent, which is usually when you're talking about adoption, or I guess sometimes surrogacy, where you're talking about who's half the genetic makeup of that person, right? So like, I am the biological dad of my son. And so biological parent is often used in adoption as well. We're like, well, who is the bio parent for, if you're looking for health history or whatever. Also, birth mother is another one where I feel like that is usually in the adoptive community, right? Because I would never call our surrogate our birth mother. But a birth mother and adoptive, that it makes a little more sense. And the last one is a little more narrow. We talked a little bit about this on episode 2 with Beth, is second parent adoption. So sometimes, depending on the state you live in, you need to get what's called a second parent adoption. If you are not the biological parent of one of your kids, getting a second parent adoption is one of those like legal things that helps you in the future if your parentage ever comes into play. And it's where the non-biological parent, usually of a gay couple or somebody who can't be a biological parent, officially adopts that child in a way to where they become a little more of an ironclad parent. And it's an unfortunate hoop that is recommended to a lot of people when they're doing IVF and they're not maybe biologically related to that particular child. So I just wanted to quickly go through those for anybody who maybe is like, oh God, because we throw them around a lot, especially on this podcast. If you ever have any other questions about certain words or certain terms, please email us at gaysharkspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to talk about it. But I never want, especially my close friends, but anybody out there, to feel weird or feel like they can't ask questions because they don't know what the fuck we're talking about, or they don't want to say the wrong thing. If you say the mother and you meant egg donor, that's okay. Like, it's totally fine. All right, so let's move to our top 3 list. This week is your list, Gavin. What is our top 3 list this week?
If you had 3 days without your kids at home, what would you do with your time? Now, immediately, I think number 3 for me is I would immediately be planning vacations that I could take without my kids, to just be able to do something that focuses on not having kids for a little while.
So you'd spend 3 days planning a future vacation. Okay.
I mean, I would waste so much time just surfing nonsense. And one of those things is looking at kayak and just dreaming about future vacations. So honestly, number 3 is absolutely that. Number 2 is, yes, I would love to be nerdy and just lay around and read books again and take naps when I want to take naps and whatnot. So number 2 is just laying around and, feeding my mind, admittedly, because I feel like I've lost an awful lot of brain cells. And number 1 is I would absolutely get on a plane, fly somewhere, and stay there for a day. Probably Mexico, lay on a beach for a day, and fly back. And it would feel like a 2-week vacation, frankly, because even being on an airplane, as we have established, being on airplane, I don't care if it's going to Peoria or Peru. If I don't have kids with me, it feels like
It's
a
it's a
complete
fucking
getaway.
vacation. I watched Banshees of Inisherin on a plane recently because I haven't watched any movies in years because you can't. But when you're on a plane, you can, and it
Yeah,
was amazing.
absolutely. It's a spa getaway. So
Um,
number one for me would just be get on a plane and go, frankly, anywhere. Maybe, hopefully, a beach, warm place. What about
yeah,
you?
that's amazing. So all right, so number 3 for me is I would go to a theme park and spend a couple days there. Because I love roller coasters. I love the whole theme park experience. Like I'm a Disney girl. Like put me in Universal Studios, whatever. But like I don't want. My kids are not old enough yet, so I don't want them dragging me down. I want to move, move, move. I got my fast pass. Let's move, move, move. So in third place, I would have theme park and go there and stay and do it right, especially Harry Potter.
Hilarious.
Number 2, I'd go to the nude beach for a weekend. I would
Yes, you
go.
would.
My husband and I, we'd go to some, like I want it to be not totally perverted nude beach, but I don't want it to be a classy nude beach. I want
Uh,
like a 60% gross nude beach. Do you know what I mean?
yes.
Where there's
So
like
that you
there's like
because
yeah.
you feel extra hot at a 60%
Mhm.
gross
Mm.
nude
You
beach.
are the hottest piece of trade on that beach. So
Yes.
yeah, number 2, go to the nude beach. And number
Amazing.
1, and this may be the daddest thing I've ever said. If I had 3 days at home without my kids, I want to clean my attic. I want to go up into the attic and take everything out. I want to redo all the floors. I want to fix everything. I want to put stuff back in the attic in labeled, organized bins. I want to redo my attic.
That is
Which is number 1. That's over nude beach. That's over going to Harry Potter World. That is how daddy I am right now.
that is the daddiest of daddy things, not
That
in
is the
the
daddiest.
zaddy kind of way, but I
No.
totally understand.
Yeah. So, all right. So next week, our top 3 list are good. It's going to be, and I don't know if you can remember these, but you're going to have to.
Okay.
Top 3 kids' books to read before bed.
Okay.
And it can be, I know, shut up.
All right.
Listen, you just talked about reading. It can be
Yeah,
top
that's
3, like kid, like, I have a 2-year-old and reading them before bed. Or it can be, I know you're doing Harry Potter with your son right now. So,
Yeah.
Top 3 books to read your kid before bed.
Love it. So our next guest is what I would like to say a self-made influencer in so very many genres. He's a leader in New York City's wedding planning community. He's a champion of women. He's a champion of the Latino community. And he is certainly a champion of the gay community. Not to mention, kind of hot. José Rolón, thank you for joining us. Also known as the @NYC Gay Dad. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, Jose.
You were doing so great on that intro, except for that last bit. I'm
Well,
Thank you.
I think he was talking about me that last part. You confused the two, Gabe, and make sure you know who you're talking to.
Okay, so Jose,
welcome.
welcome,
Oh my gosh.
and tell us, how were your kids' assholes today?
Today, let's see. Well, one is home. So
Oh,
let's start
hi,
there.
sorry.
Wasn't feeling well. So there's that. So there's already a cramp in my style to getting the things that I need to get done today.
How dare you.
Yep.
So I'd say 1 out of 3. Like, how dare she get sick? What a disaster she is.
Yep, definitely understood. It is so frustrating when you just think, you hear the kids say, my stomach hurts. And I personally am like, well, sweetie, and she definitely knows that I always go this route. Well, sweetie, you're not going to just sit home all day and watch TV. So, you can lay in bed and read books for as long as you want. Of course, I give in by noon, but I try to make staying home as miserable as possible.
That's really smart. I just go, hey, I pay strangers to watch you, so you got to go there. I pay strangers to raise you, so good luck.
I'm a bit old school, so like, if her fever wasn't as high as it was, I'd like
Okay.
get dressed, get your butt to school. I don't care what's going on. If you're not feeling well, just deal with it. Now it's like any little thing they want to like send your kids home. Like they have a little cough or a sneeze. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Jose, I'm so curious. You have had so many varied elements of your life. But one thing I want to jump into right now is, well, dare I say, love and sex. only because it's been so
Ew.
interesting. It's been so interesting to watch you for years now, where you have really put your romantic life out there for everybody to learn from. I mean, I feel like you're a very genuine social media maven. So, but you're in a new situation right now. Can you update us and tell us about it?
A situationship.
As, as the kids say.
It is, right? So I would say, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of when Tim passed away, right? And my late husband. And so in the last 10 years, I've been in two disastrous relationships.
Oh.
Uh, one, I'm not even sure how much well, one was a substance issue, so that was a disaster. And then
Nobody listens to this podcast. Jose, spill it. It's you
and
got
the
you got free reign.
and the other just, I mean, like literally got diagnosed with bipolar disorder and just was not,
Oof.
just went really off the deep end. And that actually, to be honest, that one took me out for quite some time of dating because I was like, what the fuck is like, what is happening out there, and what can you trust? And then I did have like one little small stint with this guy who was doing long distance in Canada during the pandemic, because what the hell was the difference between talking to a guy in Canada and a guy around the corner you couldn't see?
Yeah.
And HBO did capture that in this show called Sex
Oh.
Diaries. Yeah, so that's out there now.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like three times a charm. I am, this is the third guy I'm with, officially committed to in the last 10 years. His name is Thomas. He's a middle school English teacher. He's, interviewing for a principal position. He's 45, which is perfect. I'm 47. He's a family man. He's a bit on the shy side. He doesn't like a lot of attention, which is perfect for me because there wouldn't be enough air in the room for both of us if that was the case. Um, and my children, most importantly, my children are really obsessed with him and love him and get bummed out if he's not coming around
That's
to
sweet.
hang out. So it's been great. And of course, the sex has been fantastic too.
I mean, yeah.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. There is life. There is a sex life out there after having kids under any circumstances. So, what was the order that you introduced Tom to your social network and or to your kids, and how did you both navigate that? Because I imagine it didn't just happen without some thought.
Yeah, so we started out in a neutral place, right? So about, I don't know, what was it, like a month in or something like that? Because we got close pretty quickly. Oh, by the way, sorry. We connected in March 2020 on Hinge. So we were already chatting and connecting, texting, but it was March 2020. So the pandemic actually veered us in different directions, and we reconnected around the holidays. And so 3 years later. So we already had a bit of a past there.
Mm-hmm.
So about a month in, we went rock climbing, or what do they call it, boulder climbing. And so brought my kids there, and they had the best time. And Thomas was showing them how to, do all the things. Um, and then what was interesting is when I was ready to ask him to be my boyfriend, um, first Lila was like, I'm totally down. I love him. Great. My son was like, yeah, I think he's cool. And then London was like, the one who's here sick, was like, don't you think it's a little soon?
What are you, a lesbian?
And like, right? Like, what's happening? But, I actually had a lot of respect for her because she wasn't being my yes girl. She was like, wait a minute, how long have you known this guy? She's like 8 years old, but she's already,
You need
she's pretty
somebody to check
mature
your shit for sure.
to check my shit. And so it ended up being no joke for like a week and a half, where Avery and Lila were campaigning, trying to convince London why he's a good fit. And eventually she came around, and then I asked him to be my boyfriend in front of them with their permission. And the rest is history. It's been
Sweet.
fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
That's
adorable.
that's great. And then I
Yeah.
missed a social media announcement about it though. But did you plan that in advance too, or did he just slip into your DMs?
Honestly, it ended up being a coincidence. I merged it with a campaign that we got asked to do for, um, Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon released a movie called Your Place or Mine,
Hmm.
and they reached out to us to try to do a campaign on someone we have a crush on. And so I thought this was a perfect
That
moment
works.
to merge that with asking them on camera, asking him to be my boyfriend. And so we did it that way. And so that's how we actually announced it on social media, is through an actual campaign. Um, and yeah, and then slowly I've been, introducing parts of him, like going to the gym. He loves going to the gym, and I'm horrible at the gym. Um,
But excellent in the steam room, I hear. Like
he's
that's where you
excellent
really
in the steam
shine. Yeah,
room.
that's where you shine.
Yeah, he'll go to the gym for about an hour. He'll go to the gym for about an hour and work out for 10 minutes, and then the rest is,
Can I sidestep us a little bit to your wedding planning life, because I
Yes.
I have
yeah,
I have so I know I have not unfortunately watched your show with
it's
Olympic
okay.
icon Tara Lipinski. However,
Yes.
I have a bone to pick. Is that what you say? A bone to
Sure.
pick?
Yeah.
An
I mean,
issue
it depends
with
on the
Tara Lipinski.
context.
So listen to this. Listen to this story. When I was a wee lad, I was a competitive pairs figure skater. You're welcome. Yes, I am a homosexual. And at some event, I cannot even remember which, it was like Junior Olympics or like Junior Nationals. It was like one of those like just below the whatevers. There was like an opening night party for all the competitors, and Tara was there, and she was already making a name for herself. So everyone was like, "Shh, Tara, 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 Tara." And we were all dancing, and we're talking like 15-year-olds dancing in a club together. Like, it's just chaos, right? And at some point I bumped into Tara, and she kind of turned around and gave me like a like why are you bumping into me face, and I've held it against her for 25 years. I've never met her. I
Yeah.
bumped into her. It's my fault. But every time I see her on TV, I'm like, how dare she look at me that way? So I want to make sure that you let her know that at one point 20 plus years ago, she bumped into a stranger and he holds it against her. But I love her, actually. She's hilarious and great, and I love her.
Talk about a gay icon now, I would say.
I remember the last time I spoke with Tara on set, she was like, "You don't know David Vaughn, do you?" Like he,
That motherfucker
and
bumped into me when he was 15 and still straight.
it's amazing how you both literally both have said, "I've got a bone to pick with." Look at that.
I
You both
wake
have
up in
this
the morning
thing.
thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it, and think that's honestly why you're here. Is we need to talk about the Tara Lipinski thing.
Tara Lipinski has actually asked me if I knew how to, if I was really into like voodoo or Santa, like some Santeria stuff to try to ward off these evil spirits of David Vaughn.
Oh my
But
god!
you know,
Many people have tried. Nobody's been successful yet. So
How has so it is pretty amazing that you've been able to balance so many things, not to mention, of course, first and foremost, your fatherhood, your dating life, your social media feed, but also wedding planning still. What is how has
yeah.
wedding planning changed over, well, dare I say, since the after times here, since COVID? How has that business been for you?
Yeah, I think the wedding industry has been so out of whack lately. So in the last, I've been doing this for 12 years, been in my own business for 10, coming up on the 10-year anniversary of that. Um, and the difference between then and now is before you used to manage 4 or 5 vendors. You had the caterer, the photographer, videographer, and entertainment. Now you're managing between 12 and 24 vendors because we live in this social media driven world where everybody wants all the things. So sometimes it's like 4 different rental companies and this and that, right? And so pre-COVID, post-COVID, pre-COVID, we were, it was very a chaotic, wonderful, beautiful, colorful industry. But post-COVID, everything is up like 30%.
Oh,
So, living in New York City where things are so expensive to begin with, I think people in the industry have been freaked out about losing, they're trying to make up for lost revenue for the last few years, right? I mean, never mind the the what do they call it, the supply and demand issue.
hmm.
um there I think that things are considerably expensive, so when couples come up to me and they're like, we only have 30,000 for their wedding, I'm like, well, that, first of all, that's my fee. I can't I can't take that away from you. That's horrible. But like, I can't take on now, post COVID, I can't take on any couples that have less than 150K for their wedding because
Wow.
it's like New York real estate. Even with if a couple came to me and said they have 100,000 for their budget, it's like New York real estate. It tells me you can have a DJ because I could get one for 3,500, but you can't get a band because they start at $30,000, right? And
Yeah.
so it's just a really different world right now, and it's unpredictable. Our couples, I would say, most of the time I attract really incredible couples, and I still do,
In your
but these
business. In your
moods
business,
in
you're
my
talking about.
business, in
Got it.
my
Okay. Just
business.
making sure we're clear.
Yeah.
I was
And
that asshole who you probably ran into 100 times, which was when we were getting married. I was like, I'm not going to fall for this wedding industrial complex bullshit. I'm going to do this myself. I did the journey. I did like the like green, like I did everything wrong that everyone does the first time where I was like, I'm going to get my own rental. I'm going to rent my own space. I'm going to do all that stuff. And about a month and a half into it, I said, guess what? We're not doing this. This is fucking chaos. And we did we didn't hire a wedding planner, but we kind of did. We hired one of those like big kind of boats that travel around Manhattan that are like it's all done for you. There's nothing to do. Like you bring your DJ,
Yeah.
you bring your photographer. If you want to decorate, great. But like basically it's all done for you. And I was like, oh, going on now after having been married, I'm like, oh, I see the value there, either in a wedding planner or in an all-inclusive kind of a deal. Because me nickel and diming, like, well, I can get a rental company for 5,000 less than this it was gonna, and then I didn't even think about cleaning up afterwards. I was like, wait, after the wedding, now I got to put all this shit back. No, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna challenge you on that because I specialize normally in raw spaces, and there's this misconception about, let's do an all inclusive so you don't have to. The problem with a lot of these all inclusive places is that you are locked into what they have. So, for example, I'm gonna give you an example of like the Rainbow Room, right? We do weddings at the Rainbow Room, and it costs a certain amount, but guess what? Their lighting package starts at 18K and you have no choice but to use them because they're exclusive. Or if you pick a venue like some hotel and you're locked into their food, it's like the food can suck and you have no option to bring your own caterers. And that's why you need a planner, because a planner will negotiate on your behalf. You don't deal with all that shit that you had to deal with.
Wait, can I tell you just a side story? You're talking about the Rainbow Room. I got hired. I
Yeah.
don't know how this happened, but a gay couple was getting married at that place in Grand Central. I think it's called the Apartment or something. It's like this like hidden little like bar thing or whatever. And
Okay.
they hired me and another guy because they wanted two Broadway singers to sing For Good from Wicked at the wedding ceremony. And I still to this day think, what was that? Like, I sang at this gay wedding in Grand Central singing a song from Wicked, written for two women, by the way.
you didn't know them at all. You were just
I knew
you were just
nobody.
the
They
help.
had hired a live band, and the guy who was the like musical director of the band knew me from college, and he was like,
That's
"Weren't you on
hilarious.
Broadway?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, this guy's looking for two Broadway singers to sing Wicked." I was like, "I'm in."
I
Hey,
thought I thought I thought I thought you were about to tell me that you had beef with the Rainbow Room. I'm like, who do you not have beef with?
I got beef with everyone. I got beef with everyone on this call. I got beef with everyone.
so Jose,
Yeah.
speaking of beef, if you ever
Yeah.
get married, will your wedding absolutely kick ass, or are you going to be like, nope, let's go to Vegas and just do one and done?
Well, it's more like when I get married, not if. I am clear
Okay.
that I am ready to get married again. Uh,
Uh,
I Is it going to be big? It's interesting. Most people in the wedding industry end up having small, intimate weddings and elopements because we don't have the budgets that our clients have. So that's like this big misconception, right? But I do want to have a baller party. I love a good party, so I will make sure I go big on this. And listen, I have been fortunate to give a lot of vendors a lot of money over the years. There's one caterer where I've given her over $2 million worth of work. And
damn.
so when it's my time, I expect my amazing vendors to show up and give me hook a brother up.
Well, you definitely, there's an awful lot of videos of you online dancing, and I think that that is one of the
Uh,
most appealing things about you is that you definitely love to get down. And so I would imagine that the party will have a lot of get down, get down.
the dance floor is like my happy place. And if you ever see me on the dance floor, and if you ever see somebody starting to come talk to me, you're going to see what people have called a slide out because I don't want to talk. I didn't know that I did this until a couple of friends like clocked me on this. They're like, "Do you know when somebody starts talking to you on the dance floor about business, you have this very specific move slide out thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, don't talk to me on the dance floor. I don't want to talk business. It's kind of why I'm on the dance floor. It's my happy place." And
Do you attend most of the weddings that you plan and close out on the dance floor?
every single wedding, I'm there in person. I'm not a control freak in the planning process, but I am on the day of. So I show up 30 minutes before the first vendor does. And I'm hopefully the last one that that couple gives a hug to. And sometimes, yeah, the brides will or grooms will drag me on the dance floor and I'll get down with them if they want me to.
I will say that was the thing I appreciated the most out of our guy who kind of ran. I guess he was theoretically our wedding planner, but who ran the day was that like the day of was just the boss. He was just and he didn't even ask us like, do you want me to get you a plate of food? He just showed up with a plate of food. He's like, eat now because you're not going to get to eat it. Like he was so in control of the evening.
A
But
director.
I so appreciate it because when you get married, you are the star, but it is exhausting because people are constantly showering you with love, which is wonderful, but you just get overwhelmed. You so badly need somebody to grab your forearm and go, we're going upstairs now. And I really appreciated that about him.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So bringing it back to the little assholes who ruin all of our lives, and we love every second of it. Something that I find super interesting about you, Jose, and in your parenting journey is that you do a really phenomenal job of incorporating your kids into the decisions you make, the activities you have, et cetera, and embracing all that is your gay superpowers. And I was joking with David earlier that I thought it's almost like Jose brings a homonormative vibe to his social media feed, but also his family, where I would like to think that we all embrace our own awesomeness, but I think that you do a really great job of embracing your awesomeness with the kids alongside, and you don't shy away from daddy wanting love, wanting pleasure, seeking pleasure, living his own life outside of being a parent. And has that ever been something that you had to consciously think of or step back from or dial up or dial down?
Well, that's a great question. So I think that for me, as well, what's interesting is that because I've been a single dad for so long, it's not like I have somebody, it's not like I have my counterpart to make decisions with or
Mm-hmm.
to figure things out with. So sometimes I just have to do it live with my children. And I've never been the type of parent who has been like, whenever I hear people say, "Oh, my parents never argued in front of me," or "I never heard them have disagreements," it's sort of like not in front of the children thing. I disagree. I think it's actually really healthy if your kids actually do see some arguments happen as long as there's a respectful resolve. And I think that when it comes to the social issues, it's kind of like as young as one can remember, why wouldn't you educate them that's age appropriate, whether if it's, during the pandemic, we were in the middle of Black Lives Matter and they were only like 5, 6 years old. And there was a way to talk to them about that. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing with LGBTQ issues, same thing now as they're like 9 and 8. I'm very direct with them in a way that they understand. And I think they've become these little beautiful, wonderful humans in their schools that really stand up for people that feel less than. And they're super welcoming to any new kids that come in. And I think that's in part of how we kind of handle things at home. And they've seen, all the different injustices and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty honest and direct with my kids as much as it makes sense.
But I think going with what Gavin is saying about the homonormative stuff that's so appealing to your social media, because you're not the only gay parent who is kind of in the social media sphere. But what is
Yeah.
uniquely you, I think, is that you don't shy away from that. But I think part of the reason that we, as maybe gay parents of a certain age, feel that is because this world is relatively new. And one of the things that I feel like we do as joining a new world is we try to assimilate at first and be like, no, 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 we're just like you. We just do all the things exactly like you. Please let us in the parenting club. And then the truth is it's not all the exact same, right? So you not shying away from that is a gorgeous new step in the gay parenting world where we get to be authentically us, which can be different from straight parenting. And I think the world needs to see that next, because I think it's easy to see the Cam and Mitch of it all. But then if you going to the authentic place of like, I am a dad, but I also am a gay dad who has sex and is attracted to people and who gets in arguments with, all of the texture that other parents get to have. We are starting to kind of break that ground, which I think is really nice. And it's I think what is so attractive about your social media in particular.
Yeah, thank you. When I remember when Avery was first born, and I remember going to the park, and I saw a group of moms that were, standing in the middle of the park, but there was like a bench that was next to them, and I sort of was slowly sliding closer to them because I wanted to be part of this like new parent mom group. And as I'm like sliding closer, I hear, there was like I think three or four of them, and one of them was like, "Oh my God, do you know that my kids know how to do the ABCs and they're only X amount of age?" And then the next one is like, "Oh my God, mine knows how to do it in Mandarin." And then the other one was
Bye.
like,
Bye.
and it was like, it was this thing of one upping in this one circle. And I'm like, oh, this is so gross, right? And then I ended up meeting this one gay dad in this coffee shop who ended up introducing me to other gay dads. And then we sort of built this community. And it is so much better to hang out with gay dads and
Oh,
straight parents,
yes.
especially the
This is
straight
why we
moms.
started this podcast. Yes.
Oh my gosh, because we go into a bar and we don't talk about our fucking kids. We don't talk about, yeah, unless there's something serious, you know. Other than that, we are drinking. We are talking about sex. We are checking out
Mm-hmm.
all the men.
Yep.
Quarterly we do this thing with other gay dads. It's called Gay Dads Gone Wild, where we pick a neighborhood and we bar hop and we have the best time. Now, granted, we're all like trashed and wasted and thrown into a lift by 10 p.m., but we're having like the best time, and it's not, we don't talk about our kids.
That's the
Yeah.
best of all worlds. That's great. When somebody does start talking about their kids, does somebody clap at them and lock it down?
Yes. Yes. Because the other thing too, like, what happens when you're a parent is you get desexualized, right? Like people
Yep.
think that all of a sudden you can't talk about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I remember going on Grinder and Scruff, and now it's a little weird when, before I got with Thomas, it was weird going on Grinder and Scruff when I became more public because people were like, "Oh my God, you're an NYC gay dad. I love your kids." I'm like, I don't want to talk about my kids. Can you just show me your dick pic? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
like
why are we
yeah. This
talking
is
about kids
not
right
the
now?
venue for that. Not the venue for that.
Not the venue for it.
Do your kids ever get tired of being roped into making videos with you? Do you ever have to cajole them or bribe them, or are they pretty gung ho with getting creative with you?
I think during the pandemic, there's really no bribing. I think during the pandemic they were all game, right? Again, they were like 5 and 6. They would do anything and have fun with it. And then as they've gotten older, there's certain things that they won't do. So I try to really meet them where they're at whenever we get campaigns that come in, or if a lot of the stuff that we do that's funny now is so different from the stuff we did a few years ago. And and as far as like campaigns, there was one campaign where we were asked to do a dance, and my son Avery did not want to do a dance. And so it sort of hit me in that moment because I've been very clear, like once they don't want to do this, they don't have to. I don't want to force them to do something they don't want to do. And so now even my managers know that when brands reach out, they are not guaranteed that they're going to have all four of us. They might have three
Ah,
of us. They might have two of us. It just depends on the campaign. So, but they also, in terms of like some bribing, it's like we have this campaign. They know now for every campaign we do, they get X amount of dollars.
nice.
And if there's like a really cool, fun idea that I have that I feel like is going to take like maybe 30 minutes to film, I would like, all right, so we'll get a really nice treat out of it, and they get excited about
That's great.
Yeah, you're like, do you want to live in Manhattan or Queens?
it.
So you've got three kids with what seems to me to be three very different personalities. And also, some of them seem really, really at ease or show people who are all about being on camera. And sometimes they don't necessarily. I'm not going to name drop or anything, but what is their approach? And are some of them show kids and some of them not?
I think I I think Lila is going to be she's our little showboat. She's our little actress. She is game for anything around entertainment. Um, but I feel like I already have a good sense of who they're going to be when they're older. Lila feels maybe a little bit unpredictable, but I feel like Avery's going to be the money guy. He's going to be writing the checks for all of us. I think that Lila's going to be the wonderful caregiver, and I think London, and she's the one that's going to be taking care of me, and then London's going to be wondering, oh, like, why the hell either one of them are taking care of me at all. So I think, like, they all have their own thing and their own personalities. But I don't think I think maybe one might be sort of in this world of entertainment. I do think that London will be in the service industry, so she's my girly girl, and I think that she can very well possibly take over the wedding planning business.
Ah, all right. Um, so and now I have a little bit of a political question for you. I feel, David, I was actually thinking we need to have like a politics, because I just want to always learn from people and hear what they have to say. Jose, on your website, I was noticing that you talk about being very tied into the Latinx community and a big champion there. And Latinx is an interesting term that is sometimes embraced, sometimes not. My own state, Connecticut, super liberal and progressive, has actually had a certain amount of pushback on the word Latinx, and they have. I'm not exactly. I can't speak too intelligently about what has been going on, but certain groups are like, we don't want to use the term Latinx anymore. Can you school us a little bit about why you use it, and what can we all learn going forward about that term and terminology?
Yeah, so look, even within the Latin community, there's a lot of debate around this. I would say there's a lot of people, I kind of feel like it's split 50-50, where some of the older generation do not like the term Latinx. Um, but I think, you know, the beauty of Latinx is that X does encompass everybody.
But is that what the older generation is upset about? Is the X, which is supposed to mean everyone, or is it the Latin part because that certain people aren't from Latin America?
Right. So, you know, because some people identify as Hispanic, some people identify as Latino, some people identify as, and there are differences between the two, and that would involve like a separate podcast on that. But I think because there's so many different terms thrown out, I think Latinx sort of became the new thing as a way to sort of be the umbrella term for all, Latinx and for Latinos and Hispanics, and for native like New Yorkers, right? That are Hispanics that are born here, and so yeah, I embrace it because I think I feel like I'm sort of like the in between generation. I think a lot of us are at our age, right? Like, uh, the Gen Xers, the Gen Zs, they're all digital natives. They didn't know anything before. We had we were pre-computers and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And so, for example, in Puerto Rico, it's like, does it become independent or does it become a state? And I think we're slowly starting to tip because the older generation is leaving and the newer people want it to be a state, right? And so I think that Latinx is a very new term, and I think it's just going to take a while for people to embrace it. And I think it's important at my age, especially given what I do as a wedding planner and as a content creator, is to listen to the kids. And I think that's something that people aren't doing. They get really stuck in their own way. And so I don't mind at 47 years old, using the Latinx term.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's acceptable.
I just want to point out that I take a little bit of offense at you saying our age and our
I
generation
knew
as
it.
if like
I
this
knew it.
collective
I knew
our,
it.
like you guys are you're the people who I look up to. You're the generation who I'm looking to be inspired by. I am very young.
You know what? You know what, David? A lot of people may not know that we're on video right now, and maybe it's just something wrong with your video. It's a
Wow.
bit pixelated.
That is the
Yes.
heavy-handed shade that I needed to conclude this
Yes.
interview.
It was.
Thank you for meeting us where we're at, which is very
Low.
We are very low. And thank you for joining us. You are
Yes.
hilarious and smart and funny, and we were so excited to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so something great. So this week, something great. I was thinking about the shows I watch, like the TV show, like most of the reality shows, and I realized a common theme, and that's my something great this week is I love watching other people who are good at something. And what I mean by that is like watching Project Runway. Like I have zero interest in fashion. I wear Gap and whatever is still fits me from high school. So like I have no idea about fashion, but I love watching that show because I love watching people who are great at something do it. I love watching this stupid glass blowing show on Netflix. I don't care about glass blowing, but I love watching people do something they're experts at. So this is kind of a generic broad one, but I was just thinking about this week is like it's partly TikTok shows you a lot of that, but I just love watching people who are experts at something that I know nothing about do that thing.
So my something great is that it's been a happy household this week, in part because I have been single dad, and it's not to say that I would prefer to be single dad, but I have absolutely bribed the shit out of my kids to get good attitudes from them and say being yes kids instead of no kids by saying every single morning this morning, I will take you to Dunkin' Donuts on the way to school. How very New England is that? There's a Dunkin' on the way to their school. And they have definitely met the challenge. And even though I'm a bit poorer in bacon, egg, and cheese and Boston creams, it has been a happy household, and that is priceless.
That sounds delicious.
And that's our show. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general compliments, you can email us at gatriarchspodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can DM us on Instagram. We are at Gatriarchs Podcast. On the internet, David is at David FM Vaughn everywhere, and Gavin is at Gavin Lodge on nothing.
Please leave us a glowing 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Gatriarchs.